Back in 2012, I wrote a blog called Why Real Men Avoid Single Mothers. And in this blog, I detailed many of the reasons why men should avoid single mothers whenever they're looking for someone to date or to pursue a relationship with. And my reasons for writing that blog were not out of malice and they were not out of anger. They come from my personal experiences growing up in a single mother household here in the South Bronx. They come from living around single mothers here in the South Bronx, and they come from interacting with single mothers here in the South Bronx and other areas. So I approach this subject from a very balanced and objective perspective, not from a biased one, because I understand what issues regard this subject, and I understand why men need to avoid single mothers, because any man who is out here looking to build anything, you cannot build anything with a single mother. And this is something I've seen from personal experience. There is no way for you to build anything. And the reasons are very simple, because when you have a relationship with someone, you're looking for someone who's going to be a helpmeet and a support to you. And a woman who is a single mother cannot help you or support you in any way. In fact, she is the one in desperate need of help and support. And that undermines your authority as a leader and the head of the family. You cannot be the man that you need to be and lead yourself in doing God's work if you're over here trying to be a janitor or a garbage man cleaning up some woman's mess. And that was one of the points that I was trying to make with the blog, because I wrote the blog so that men could understand why they need to avoid single mothers. Because, again, these women cannot help you in any way, shape, or form. They can't help you build anything. They can't help support you in any way. They cannot help meet your needs. They cannot make you a priority in their life. Instead, you're the one who is sitting here trying to clean up somebody else's mess. You're being, a guy in the background of her foreground, and you're not focused on what you want to do in life or what you want to accomplish or what you want to achieve. You're helping her take care of her children, be her daycare, and be the bodyguard that protects her from the child's father. And that's not the life you really want to live as a man. As a man myself, this is one of the reasons why I avoided pretty much all the women in the South Bronx for over 25 years, because many of them grew up to become single mothers because they got involved with these dysfunctional males in this part of town. They wound up having kids for these guys at an early age. So there was no way they could help me in building something like the SJS Direct publishing imprint, or helping me to, work towards the goals that I wanted to achieve in life, like graduating high school, like going to college, and like trying to find work. There was no way this female could help me. So, as a leader and a man who wants to start his own thing and do things, I look at the females in the population. I said, it would be better for me to be by myself than to put myself in a dysfunctional situation with a dysfunctional female who wouldn't does not want to build a family with me, but wants to just have illegitimate children who will grow up to breed more illegitimate children. Now, as a guy who likes to build, I would rather be with a partner who wants to help me build a family and build a household. But if those women aren't available with those types of values and character, I'm going to avoid getting involved with any women in the area. But sadly, many guys, they don't follow that logical pattern. Instead, they think with their emotions and their penis, and they will get involved with any woman. But in the blog, I was just trying to explain the reasons why men should avoid single mothers. And again, I've seen the pitfalls and traps many men have fallen into dealing with these females, watching these guys, try to chase them, trying to make efforts to please them, and trying to make efforts to be not like the child's father, not understanding that they're heading right down the same road that the child's father was on. Um, when it comes to these single mothers, they just can't be available for you in a way a woman without a child can be. A woman without a child is not only physically available, but she's also emotionally available. That means she is willing to give herself to you, she is willing to commit to you, and she can fully commit to you. This is something the single mother cannot do, because the single mother is physically unavailable because she often has to work, or she often has to take care of children, and most importantly, she's emotionally unavailable. And because women are emotional, it is important for a woman to be emotionally available to a man. If she cannot be emotionally available, there is no way she's going to be there for you, because she is not going to be interested in you to meet your needs. You're not going to be the priority. You're not going to be the top priority in her life. You're only going to be maybe the fourth or fifth, because you're going to be behind the kids, you're going to be behind the dog, you're going to be behind the job, you're going to be behind the stopped up sink. You are going to be in the back instead of being, in the front. As the head of the family and the leader, you should be the one that could be the most concerned. And that's the way a reciprocal, healthy relationship works. But when it comes down to your single mothers, they are not available from day one. So you can't get involved with them. All they're going to do, basically, they don't see you as a priority. They don't see your needs as a priority. They don't see your goals as a priority. You are insignificant in her world. Instead of you being the primary focus, you're the secondary. You're not even the secondary focus. You're like the cajillionth focus. And that's not good for any man coming into a relationship. A man who wants a healthy relationship wants a partner who is going to be there for him and wants to share with him. And there's no way you can share anything with a single mother. As a single man, you're not going to be able to get your needs met in the relationship from an emotionally unavailable person. An emotionally unavailable person is not going to be able to be there for you or be there to help support you work towards your goals or the things that you want to do in life. Instead, you're going to be all the way in the back, and then she's going to tell you to put your goals aside, and that's not healthy for a man. A man should not be putting his goals aside to please others and appease others. That's basically what nice guys and simps do, but regular men, their goals in life should be the priority. And this is why, men should avoid single mothers, because single mothers want you to cater to them and to care for them and to fix their problems and be a fixer and a caretaker to her, but you're not taking care of yourself and taking care of your needs, and she's not helping you work towards taking care of yourself and taking care of your needs. Instead, you become last and she becomes first, and that's not a healthy relationship. That's not interdependence. Instead, it's codependence. And in a codependent relationship, one partner is working towards meeting all the goals of another partner, and putting their lives as more of a priority than their own. And that leads to a very unsatisfying relationship. And that's why relationships with single mothers are very unsatisfying, because one partner feels unfulfilled and the other one just feels frustrated. Um, and I wanted to, point that out to guys about single mothers, about the availability, you know. And then there's the kids themselves, because especially when you're dealing with older children, they're just not going to like you because, again, they still have emotional attachments to this child's father. They still have feelings about this child's father. They have unresolved feelings about their relationship with their child's father if he's still in the picture. And some of them, have real issues with male authority figures. They don't like the idea of another man coming in, especially here in the South Bronx, where you have women who will tell the boy, especially the male boys, you are the man of the house. And when you tell a boy that he's the man of the house, he's automatically, when you get involved with another man, what's going to happen is you're going to have a power struggle between this boy and the new male and the new man in her life, because that man is not going to be seen as an authority figure. Instead, the boy is going to start feeling like he's going to be challenged by her authority, by this new man's authority. And this is, leads to a really dysfunctional situation, which leads to a lot of conflict. And then on the flip side, with the daughters, you have the issues, of insecurity and again, in dealing with male authority figures, because they're not used to male authority. they are coming when they've seen their mother, who has taught them a culture of, in many cases of dislike of men or disregarding men, because she's heard her talking about this no good man, this father who was no good. So again, she's having again issues with males and male authority figures, and she's looking for ways to challenge you. So it's not a good situation for a single man to be in, because you're dealing with children who aren't going to like you because they're not used to authority. They're not used to leaders. They're not used to leadership by a man in many cases. And they're used to the woman pretty much dictating everything. So they're coming at a relationship, and not seeing a man, in the way a man needs to be. Because a man who wants to build, he wants to be the leader of the household. He wants to be the head of the family. And he wants to be able to, have say over what he wants in the house. And when you're in a house with a single mother, there is no say for you in that house. Pretty much, the woman is dictating everything, and everything is on her terms. And on top of it, because she dictates everything and everything is on her terms, you have to deal with this child's father or fathers, and that's going to be a nightmare, because you can't run your household. You can't be the leader of your household. You can't be the head of the household as God established. All you can be, is a guy who lives in the house but has no say over everything, because the mother is trying to say over things. Then you have the child's fathers coming in, and coming in saying that what they want to have said over their kids, because this guy, even though in many cases some women will tell you, oh, he's gone, this guy's going to pop up, like a horror character in a horror movie after the final scene when you start dating this woman, because she'll sit there and tell you, oh, the father is gone. And then 3 to 4 weeks of you dating this woman, and you come to her house, this dude's going to pop up. Guaranteed. He's going to pop up. And what he's going to do is, come in and say, oh, I'm the child's father or something like that. And then later on, he's going to start saying things like, you don't need to be talking to my kids. I don't want you getting involved with my kids. When in many cases, he's never involved with his kids. But he's only coming back for this simple reason, because he wants to mark his territory. He wants to dominate and show, his authority in a place where he really has no authority. And this is a, statement to other males to not come here. And you just don't need this type of grief as a man. You don't need these type of problems. I mean, I look at the big picture, and life is too short for a guy to sit here and have to deal with this emotionally unavailable woman, these children who don't like him, and the problems with this child's father. And here in the South Bronx, I have watched horror story after horror story transpire around me and in front of me. I remember being 9 years old and watching the news at 11 o'clock and hearing about a child's father killing another man over a single mother. And when I had that experience of listening to that, it pretty much burned it in my mind to say I would never get involved with a single mother, because I look at it this way. Your life is more valuable than a relationship. Your health is more valuable than a relationship. Your safety is more valuable than a relationship with any of these females out here. And I've seen, guys pretty much lose their lives, lose their livelihoods, wind up in the prison system, all because they wanted to get involved with one of these single mothers. And all it did was lead to a disaster, because usually here in places like in the South Bronx, they get involved with this woman. They try to have a relationship with her. This child's father pops up, or the kids start telling stories to the child's father about how this guy is doing bad stuff to them or saying bad things to them, or because he tries to administer discipline during one of the daycare times, what happens is it turns into a fight. This guy loses his life, and one guy winds up in prison. And why should you, put your life at risk, put your health at risk, put your safety at risk, getting involved with one of these single mothers, when there are 4 other women out here. And I keep saying this because it is true. There are 4 women for every 1 man. And in the case of the black community, there's 7 women for every 1 man. So why should a man put his health, his safety, and his freedom at risk getting involved with one of these single mothers? Why should he take that type of risk with his life when there's a better quality of life out there for him and, a larger pool? If he just had a little vision, and a little self-confidence, he could go out here and pursue, women in other areas. Now, I don't get involved with women these days because, again, my financial and economic situation is messed up. I've been out of work for quite some time. But if I still had money, again, I put myself first, put my goals first, and, put my health and safety first. And the reason why I wrote the blog is because I want men to start focusing on their quality of life, their health, their safety, and I want them to come to the conclusion that, the only person who's going to look out for you is you. This single mother is not looking out for you. She is looking, for a guy to be not a surrogate father, because she does not want a man usually to be a father in many cases and be that leader and authority figure who will, head the household, control the household, supervise the children, and discipline the children. She does not want a man to be a leader. This is one of the reasons why she does not like the child's father, because she doesn't want him to assert that position. No, she usually wants a man in a position so that he will be basically like what I call the Pullman porter. And the Pullman porter is basically, during the Jim Crow period, he was a guy, he worked on the trains in this lowly position, serving up cake, serving up ice cream, cleaning the beds. He was basically a maid, and he was basically, caretaking white people who rode the trains from coast to coast. That was the job of the Pullman porter. He carried the bags. I mean, he was basically like a maid or a butler who worked on the trains. And what type of position is that for a man? What type of respect would a man get from working in that position? That's a position that is completely submissive and weak for, any man. I mean, women look at a guy like that and they have no respect for him. And that's the way a lot of women look at these guys who go out here and try to date single mothers. The single mother looks at this guy like a Pullman porter. Now, he's thinking he's getting, a catch. He's thinking that, oh, she's just got 1 child or 2 children. And he's not looking at it, from the right perspective. He's not looking at it as, I'm putting my, life at risk, my health at risk, my safety at risk, all so that I can be, Mr. Belvedere for somebody else's kids, somebody's child care, or, the guy out here buying toys and buying clothes for somebody else's kids, while this woman goes out and has shopping sprees where she goes out and buys $2,000 handbags, Gucci boots, Gucci sunglasses. Because this is what I've seen here in the South Bronx, and there are a lot of guys, they just don't pick up on this, and they don't hear what these women have to say about them behind their back. Now, because I'm not working, I hear a lot of what these women are saying when I take the ride on the bus to do errands or to go to the library. I hear what they're saying, and because the courthouse is not too far from where I live, I actually hear them talk about how they're going to get child support out of these guys and what they're going to spend it on. And what they're not going to spend it on is these children. They're not going to spend it, on getting some kids some new clothes for school, or, groceries so they can have something to eat when they come back from school, or even spend the money, on books so the children will have something to read. No, that's not what they're going to spend the money on. When I hear these women coming out of the courthouse, or riding the bus to the courthouse, or riding the D train, what they have to say is, I'm going to get my hair done. I'm going to get my nails done. I'm going to head over here and buy these sunglasses, or I'm going to buy this iPhone, or I'm going to get this iPhone plan. They're thinking about themselves, and they're putting their needs first, and they look at it that way because they have more than one source of income. When these guys that go out here and date these single moms, they get an extra check. They have the child support, they have their paycheck, and then they have this simp's paycheck. So they have three sources of income to get money from. And this is why they can, go out here and live a lifestyle. Meanwhile, their kids are running around in dirty clothes and worn down skips, because I have family members in education who pretty much have observed this. And this woman is coming out here with a Gucci bag, sometimes a fur coat, and an iPhone. And that's all from the three sources of income. And a lot of guys, they don't see this because they're too busy being intoxicated by that nuclear waste facility percolating between our legs and aspiring to get and working hard to get their taste of that atomic waste, to understand that, you are just another revenue stream to her. And all she's thinking about is what she's going to get out of her, because a lot of guys don't understand that the single mom is the biggest manipulator out here. And all she looks to do is use people as tools to get from point A to point B. And that's what single mothers do, because that's what she used to do when she was dating, Mr. Brutus Shinebone, back in the day. She uses guys like tools. And a lot of these guys don't understand it. They don't see it. They don't look at it that way because they're not thinking about it from an objective perspective. Now, over the years, I have gotten a lot of comments from that blog I wrote about why real men avoid single mothers. And a lot of these single mothers would come there trying to look to argue with me and to go back and forth with me. And in the beginning, I did, respond to the blog. But the more they would respond to me, the more they would try to argue with me, the more they would prove my points to be correct. And some of them, even in their responses to that blog, were pretty much writing back, parroting back everything that I wrote. So it was really, interesting to see that. And over the years, people have gone out here. A lot of MGTOW groups and MRA groups have, posted this blog and links to that blog on their message boards and on their pages. And a lot of people have looked at that blog and said, every piece of information that I posted in it was absolutely correct. And I've had, men write the horror stories to me, of their experiences with single mothers and how they wound up getting manipulated, how they wound up getting used as babysitters and an ATM card, and how they had to deal with this child's father. And all of their experiences pretty much mirror every experience I ever saw here in the South Bronx. So this blog that I wrote pretty much went worldwide and has gone viral. And I wasn't even trying to do that. What I was trying to do with the piece was show men why they need to avoid single mothers, why they need to not get involved with them. Because I believe that, God has the very best out here for every man. And God wants us to, work towards getting the very best out here. But the only person who keeps us from getting the very best is us. And many times, in many cases, we men are our own worst enemies. And because we want to, win the favor of some attractive female we see, or we want to win the approval of some attractive female we see, we wind up missing out on God's very best. A lot of us just don't understand, that we're following a life paradigm that's completely backwards. Men don't chase women. Men don't look to show a woman what he has to offer. It's the other way around. Women are supposed to pursue men and show them what they have to offer. I mean, what she has to do is show you what type of values and character she brings to the table. And that's what happens when you're looking for a person who's going to be your helpmeet and your support, someone who wants to follow your lead. She has to show you how she's going to be a part of your team, how she's going to be a partner to you in a relationship, what she brings to the table in terms of values and character, what she has to offer you in a relationship, what intangibles of womanhood will, help her relate to your intangibles of manhood, how she can help you work towards your goals, and how she's going to help make your goals and her a priority, and how she can support you in working towards your goals. That's what a man is supposed to look for in a partner. But because Madison Avenue advertisers and Hollywood's movie studios sell the idea to men that, we're supposed to chase women, which is just completely backwards, and we're supposed to try to please women, a lot of guys wind up getting their lives derailed. And that's why a lot of guys will, sacrifice their intangibles of manhood, like their dignity, like their self respect, and their self worth, to deal with females. And they'll settle for females who are less than, such as your single mothers, and females with a lot of issues and baggage, because they feel they have to have a woman. And you don't have to have a woman. Sometimes, like I said before, it's better for you to sit out like I do and not deal with these women rather than get involved with a woman who pretty much derails your life, prevents you from being able to achieve your goals, bogs you down with a whole bunch of baggage and a whole bunch of issues and a whole bunch of trouble. It's better for you to go out here and go for yours and, lead your own life and put yourself first and last than to deal with someone who puts you dead last. And that's what single mothers do. They put you in the background. They have you like the butler. They have you like the maid. And you're supposed to sit here and wait for crumbs at the table when you should be working towards having your own table and filling your own refrigerator with food so that you can feed yourself and take care of yourself. That's what you should be working on. But many guys, they don't get that. And I grew up here in the South Bronx with a single mother and in a single mother household around single mothers. And thank God, she was able to tell me, don't deal with these females who are like this, because she knew from experience what they were. And I knew, watching them, what they were. And I said, why would I want to get involved with them if I want to pursue these goals? Because I wanted to be a writer, ever since I was 9 or 10 years old, and I always wanted to publish a book. And I always said to myself, this is a goal I wanted to pursue. And the whole thing is that if I get involved with the wrong female, that goal was never going to get accomplished. And because I put myself first, I was able to pursue that goal and, see it through. Back in 2002, and since 2002, I have started, the SJS Direct Imprint in 2009. And since then, I've published, over 50 books, including books about men's issues. I've done a blog that has gotten over 1.5 million hits. And the blog about why real men avoid single mothers, that came from my personal experience. It came from experiences around me. And I've had, single mothers try to come at me with their shaming language, telling me that I'm generalizing, I'm bitter, I'm angry, some single mother did me wrong. This was never the case. Again, came from my personal experience, came from observing people around me, coming to an understanding that getting involved with a single mother was not a healthy thing for me, and it was not beneficial for me long term, because I think long term. I'm thinking about when I look for, a woman to be in my life, I'm looking for a helpmeet who will be a partner and a support to me, someone who will help me achieve my goals, someone who will help me move my life forward, someone who will help me get to the next level as a writer, as a publisher, and someone who will help me, accomplish something in life. I'm looking for someone who's going to be able to work with me, and you can't get someone to work with you in a single mother, from a single mother. Single mother is looking for somebody to help her with day by day, and I'm looking for a long-term picture. I'm looking at working towards 5 and 10-year goals, and single mothers aren't looking for a 5 or 10-year goal. They're looking for, getting through a day. And I've been, at that point where you're getting through a day, because I was unemployed one time before this, and I had bad depression, and I know what getting through a day is. And that's not a place you really want to be, because that's just existing. When you're trying to live, you're thinking about, 5, 10 years down the road, moving your life into, different spaces, trying to grow yourself, trying to move yourself forward. And you can't do that as a man when you have a female who has anchors tied to her, and all she's going to do, is drown you and prevent you from being the best man you possibly can be and achieving the things you want to achieve in life. You're not going to be able to do that with a single mother in your life and having a relationship with them. And then, I read about other horror stories that have happened to guys, like the guys who did date single mothers, and then, they didn't even have the children, and now they're being forced to pay child support. And when you think about that's really disturbing. You didn't even have these kids, but because you wanted to come in and be the nice guy and help out, now when the relationship sours, she takes you to child support court and gets a child support order for some free money. And that's what I talk about, about having 2 and 3 sources of income. I mean, she gets an easy check just for you being there. And that's really, another reason why men need to avoid single mothers. Because, again, you have one life. And that's all God's going to give you is one life. And the quality of that life can be the very best, or it can be miserable. And that's primarily by the choices you make. And one of the best choices you could ever make is to avoid these single mothers, because they bring nothing to the table for any man outside of that child's father, and there's nothing for you to benefit. I mean, what benefits are there for having a relationship with a woman who cannot commit to you in any way, shape, or form? I mean, you get nothing in exchange for giving her everything, and again, that's codependency. I mean, you are expected to give her everything, and she doesn't have to give you anything at all. I mean, emotionally, she doesn't have to be there. Physically, doesn't have to be there. Mentally, she doesn't have to be there. But she expects you to be there, and she expects you to commit to her. And that's dysfunctional. Why should you walk into a dysfunctional relationship when there are just so many opportunities on this planet with all 6 or 7 billion people on it for you to have opportunity for a relationship with a great woman who can, give all of herself to you and share with you 100%. And these opportunities are all around you. And if you have the right frame of thinking, you can go out here and, have a great relationship with a great female. And that's your choice. And if you choose to do that, you can have, the very best. And I always look at it that way. You want to have the very best in life. And you can't have that with a single mother. All you're going to have is an anchor tied to your leg. And no matter how many people try to come to me and try to convince me different with their shaming tactics, with their arguing and their going back and forth, they're never going to convince me that, a smart man or a real man is going to, get involved with a single mother. Only simps and Captain Save-ems who are completely desperate for the approval of females or lack the social skills to understand about all the opportunities out here will limit themselves by getting involved with single mothers or trying to have relationships with single mothers. The very best is out here, but you just have to go out and take time to go find it. But these guys don't want to do that. But I wrote the blog again so men could understand why they need to avoid these types of predators and go out here and, make an effort to have the best life. But I want them to understand, that this is how these women operate. This is how they do things. And this is why they are not good partners for a relationship. And a lot of guys got that. A lot of guys understood that. But unfortunately, I had a lot of single mothers trying to tear me down, trying to attack me, trying to say I was generalizing, trying to say I was using shaming language. I mean, not shaming language, but they were trying to say that I was being a misogynist. The whole 9 yards, just trying to sit there and attack me. And they would even go to their own boards and try to attack me. But I left that up there 4 years ago, and I wrote that again to help men, because I see so many guys out here who don't have any guidance from other men in the community. They have no support from guys and from other men in the community, and they have nobody trying to help them, be better men. And the whole irony of it is the single mom will sit there and say, I'm a misogynist, and then she'll sit there and say she's trying to make her son into a man. And from what I've seen, no woman can rear a boy into manhood. Only another man can teach another man how to be a man. And when a boy learns things from men, he learns how to be a better man. And one of the lessons a man is going to teach another boy is to put himself first, take care of his own needs, um, focus on his goals, and to avoid predators like your single mothers in the dating world, because he's going to sit down and tell him that, look, there are plenty of opportunities for relationships with great women out here. All you have to do is just sit back, be yourself, and quality women will be attracted to you based on your internal character traits, not, be the girl that you're trying to chase and please. And this is something that a lot of guys grew up with, where I was living, and even I grew up with it, learning that dysfunctional model from stupid movies like these John Hughes movies, where you sit there and think, oh, this good, nice guy is being done wrong, but he's doing the wrong thing by chasing some female who was never interested and not looking at the 3 females or 4 females who are in the distance looking to make a move on this guy, and not looking to spend time with those women who are looking to offer him cooperation and respect. Instead, he's trying to earn the respect and cooperation of a female who never cared in the first place. And because he tries to do that, he winds up dealing with a predator who winds up becoming the single mother, who winds up being, he winds up being bitter about. And then some other dude, winds up trying to come in like Cleveland Brown did on the Cleveland show, um, and tries to be the Pullman porter who sits there and cleans up the mess. And that's what happens, to guys, because they follow this dysfunctional paradigm instead of saying, look, let's try to go do something different. And that's part of what MGTOW is, just doing something different. And, approaching things from a different perspective. And because I approach it from a different perspective, I get a lot of flack for it. But I look at it this way, why should I deal with a single mother and have my quality of life, ruined, when I can have the best quality of life by never getting involved with them in the first place? And I advise every man out here to just avoid these single mothers at all costs, because you have one life to live, and that can be the best life possible if you take the time to listen to guys, who are trying to give you advice on how to be a man, and show you, how to achieve your goals and accomplish your goals. Because your goals in life should be one of the most important things next to God. That should be what should be waking you up every day, and something you should be motivated for doing. You should not let anybody or anyone get in the way of what you want to do in life. And that's the big problem with a lot of guys. They put these women first, and then they wind up upset when they wind up last in life. That's all I have to say for this video. You can check out the blog again, Why Real Men Avoid Single Mothers, by clicking the link in the description box. It's a great read, and it will really help you think. I know that it's helped a lot of men over the last 4 years, and I hope it'll help you. But that's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.